Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be none other than another fantastic day over at the ESA Cup, where we're going to be joining you for some more fantastic matches. Now, it's going to be the Swiss stage, the first round of it, we're going to be seeing live here. And before we get into the players, the bands, the predictions, you name it, I'm going to be Buffo Bob, leading you through these matches with none other than himself, Naj, the man, the myth, the legend. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I've been active all day. I've been, out walking all of these big hefty dogs. I've been having some fun doing some exercise. I was supposed to get my hair cut, but the bus didn't arrive for 40 minutes and then I didn't have time. So here we are.
That's a shame. That's a shame. Well, you said about walking dogs. Let's see the dogs that these players have inside them. Going in over towards the first scene. I mean, we have the brackets to look at, I do believe. And without the doubt, I mean, we're in the loser's bracket right now. We're in the Swift stage. And of course, whichever team wins, they start moving up slowly. Whichever team loses, Naj, what happens to them?
Oh, well, they're gone, fella. They get put in the bin. Let's go. Which is always fun, always a little unfun, but it's always going to be the case for one of these teams. One of these teams has to lose in order for the other to be able to strive and thrive in this situation. So we'll have to see who it's going to be today.
Oh, yes, we will now. Taking a bit more of a closer look to what we're having today, this head to head type scenario here. You see it. It's going to be none other. We haven't mentioned the team names, which is honestly a sin, but why would we do it when you see it on your screen? Asgard versus Penta Club. Total win rate for Asgard, 33%. Best map, Chalet. Worst, Cafe. Same goes for Penta on their best map, and worst one is going to be Clubhouse. And Naj, I have not taken a look at the maps we're going to be seeing today, so honestly, I'm quite interested. But before we get into it, will you give us a bit of a heads over on how the player stats are going to be looking?
Oh, definitely so. Something I did really want to touch on for this, because I saw this a little bit before the stream and I was really excited to, have a little word about it. A lot of people are going to be looking at this and thinking, well, it's over for Penta. Really, look at these costs, look at these KDs. But at the end of the day, there is a lot of different factors that go into these. And the thing you've really got to consider is it's stupidly hard to keep a 1.0 or above KD in any sort of form of comp, especially when everyone is at a level where the skill difference is pretty negligible, even if it seems so far apart. Because I guarantee a lot of these people with a little bit of practice in the same way would be able to compete at the levels of each other. So when you're looking at this, don't be too disheartened. If you are supporting on the Penta side, I'm very interested to see what they can bring to the table, because more than likely we'll be seeing a bit more of a hands-on approach from them, seeing something a bit more strategic, maybe even going for some target bans. And I think that is really where we'll see Penta start to get the cogs turning and actually come back off this back foot that they seem to be on from these statistics.
Yeah, you're interested in seeing the results, but before we get to those, what about predictions? What did our lovely production team here go and predict that team the victor? And Mighty Rouge and myself and Ogon went for Penta. Well, of course, Bose, Nanos, and Oho went for Asgard. What did you vote for, Naj? Did you vote?
I unfortunately didn't vote because I kind of
right.
picked up this cast last night, but
Yeah.
I probably would have gone for Asgard. But I think that, like, realistically, as much as the stats maybe don't show it, I think this could be anybody's game. I think Penta definitely do stand a chance, and I think anybody sleeping on them should really just start reading a book. But yeah, I'm very interested to see both of these teams go at it, and I definitely want to see if Penta can, prove to everybody else in the stream that they've really got what it takes.
Yeah, you heard that, everybody. He didn't vote. Start cutting off the paycheck. In the meanwhile, I said earlier that I have not personally seen what maps are here, and I think it's the best time to see the introduction of these maps we're going to be having here today. And it's going to be nothing of the usual and the sorts today. It's going to be all mayhem. We see the first one picked over by Penta is going to be Border. That is absolutely guns blazing. We can expect it. Followed by Consulate into the second one. And for the decider, if of course we get to it, is going to be none other than Cafe Dostoyevsky. Sadly, of course, for the second and third match, I may not be there. I may be replaced. I'm here a bit of as a backup, although I'm happy to watch Border. What's your opinion on these maps, Naj?
Well, Border's going to be a very big mess. I think these two teams, Penta coming in with something to prove, both of these teams being in the lower end, Border being the first map, basically means that someone wants to come out swinging. And with it being picked by Penta, it usually means that they want to try and push the issue here. Like they want to try and take a very aggressive map, just in general. And they want to take it by the balls, probably. They will really want to try and get themselves in there. They'll try and get themselves for these rush plants, because rush plants are stupidly effective on this map in particular. And I think that if we see any sort of shield on the table, even if Monty's banned, I think we'll see a lot of blitz. I think we could see a fuse, etc., etc. But I think in general, there is going to be a very, very aggressive Penta coming into their attacking half after because obviously both teams that pick their maps are starting on defense for the first two. I didn't remember the last one, but for the first two, they're starting on defense. Asgard for Consulate and Border is Penta. So I'm very interested to see what they do on defense and how they come into the attack, because the attack is going to be the difference maker.
And in the meanwhile, just a little bit of a heads up. This is everything we're going to be seeing today is an elimination match, meaning overtime is unlimited. There has to be a 2-round difference in OT for it to be confirmed. And although, it's an interesting factor here, Naj, you were mentioning around Penta earlier, they were in the negative KD side of things, but they went with Border, the most aggressive of maps. I'm thinking that this is some sort of hidden sleeve. They have something hidden. It has to be. There is no way out of it that they go on being on the lowest part of it. But with that, at the same time, going for a map that solely relies on guns, shooting, and aim. So I'm wondering how that's really going to work out for them, as well as Asgard. I mean, going into this, it's not going to be a map you expect to think a lot. It's just, am I going to get swung or will I swing? And that's the situation we're going to be put up here. But yet again, we talked about Border. What about your opinions on the following one that is going to be Consulate, Nash?
Well, to answer your previous question, there is going to be a hell of a lot of execute utility. I tell you that much right now. For both teams, a lot of execute utility. Consulate, I think, will just be played very standard. I think we'll see a lot of G2 style of play, which is, where all the strats came from for ranked. I think, generally speaking, we'll probably see a lot of that. And we'll also see quite a bit of just like the standard site rotation. I don't think we'll see anything really special or out of pocket coming from the side of Asgard, because realistically, stats-wise, they don't really have a lot to prove. And if they come out of this map with a win, they're going to be trying to play comfortably. They're not going to be trying to finish it straight away because they know they've got a buffer. But here we are on the operator bans. Monty is probably going to go out, but it's going to be Dekebi that actually gets banned first. Not a bad ban. She has recently been nerfed, so some teams are kind of on the fence about how powerful she really is, especially considering it takes 30 seconds into the round before she can actually use her first call. Second attacker ban comes out. It is going to be that Monty that I spoke about earlier. And realistically, I expect something along the lines of the Azami, Valk, or Fenrir for the defense. I think 2 of those 3 are the ones that are going, because I can't really imagine anyone else other than maybe going for some sort of weird little funny ban to throw them off, like a smoke or something. But I think generally speaking, that's going to be what we see. But never mind, we see a clash.
That's interesting. That is extremely interesting. There's going to be clash coming out as the ban, and at the same time, defenders, they require one more. And what's going to be this mystery pick? Well, personally, I think I'm going to be predicting something like a Valkyrie. Although we're going to have to see. On Border, it's quite interesting. But in the end, slowly ticking it down. And in the meanwhile, going over slowly to round 1. But the ban is going to be none other than Vigil, which, honestly, I'm not going to be too surprised on. Especially seeing as how this map is, like we've said it. I mean, it's been said, it's been stated. You know it. Such an aggressive map. Such a gun-heavy, frag opportunity-ish map. I mean, it's Vigil. It's the Boss G. We're in his meta, and we have to wipe him off existence if we want to have a fair fight when going over to this attacking side. In the meanwhile, though, let's take a look at these lineups that we're currently rocking. We see the Nomad, the IQ, the Ace, the Ash. I think it's quite standard. What I do like here is going to be the Brava here, Naj. And although, any comments on the defensive thing? Because personally, I think the defensive lineup here is quite basic.
I will definitely say Keep an eye on this Azami, because she is going to be criminally overpicked all game. Like, genuinely, it's going to be the most difficult thing to watch ever, because we will see Azami every single round. She is so unbelievably good on this map, and the fact that she wasn't taken out over the Clash means that the Clash was probably a target ban.
Possibly. I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, at the same time, Clash can tend to be quite strong on maps like these and Consulate itself, so honestly, it's really just a pick of what you would like to play against more than the other, and I think Azami here, maybe it's even that the fact that they want to use Azami themselves. That's also a possibility for both of these teams, although we're going to have to see. In the meanwhile, we have setup set, and in the meanwhile, we see the shotgun on Bandit, which another interesting pick from me.
I love Bandit Shotgun. I've always been a huge advocate of Bandit Shotgun, because A, 3-speed, B, if you're not tricking, you can kind of just bully the wall and just play the corner. It's a lot of fun to play the Bandit with a shotgun. I think it can be extremely effective. On the attacking side right now, there's a lot of stagnation. They're using this Flores to try and clear out any 90 utility and maybe even try and get onto those Kivas through the rotate, but to no avail right now. They've used 3 at least, and they're all gone. But XC going to be able to find 2 on the top of East Stairs. Take us away, Mr. Puffo Bob.
So we'll slowly trying to find those following picks. Snowballing it off of here is Asgard's main goal, as not only have they found themselves 2, or actually Penta, by mistake, it's the fact that they've gained this sort of leverage here. And I think they're looking to expand off of it. Exe with a triple in the round, and onto the quad, followed by Z-Tac, as Senzo does make it back for 1, although I don't think it's going to be enough. It's a 1v4 situation, and with 1 minute and 30 remaining, it's sadly just a bit of an improbable situation he's put up with. Too much pressure, too much burden on the shoulders, and too much bullets flying by, as the first round is now confirmed to be going over to Penta.
What a wonderful shot through the wall, by the way. Being able to know that angle, everyone should keep that in mind if people are pushing over towards the eastern side on border in their ranked games. So you should definitely look back on that one. XC had a beautiful round from the top of those eastern stairs, like really able to just, you know, pick apart the enemy lineup and make sure that like he can kind of stand there. And he really made like his point of just saying that like you are not going to take this from me. I will not allow you to. He got his 3 kills. Realistically, after the first 1, maybe 2, he could have just fallen off, gone back to site, played the man advantage. Instead, he committed. He got his kills. He got his 1s. And I think that's really just a statement for the side of Penta. Like, they know they're on the back foot, in quotation marks, both on, well, on all 3 things. On the Twitch prediction, they're 50-50 on the staff prediction, and if you include me, then they're on the back foot for that as well. Then on OPL, they're on the back foot. Stats, they're on the back foot. Penta are here to prove a point, and they've chosen border very, very particularly because they know for a fact that it requires a lot of this utility-heavy gameplay, even though it is a stupidly aggressive map. You're going to be able to think on your feet.
I'm going to pose a question to you now. Seeing as, you know, this is going to be a rough gamble for me, seeing as how much analytics you have on both of these teams. But who would you, let's put up a friendly bet, like I always tend to. Who would you say would win out border?
Who do I think is going to win border?
Yeah.
Realistically, after the first round performance, I really want to say Penta. But I just don't think it's going to be the case. I think it really comes down to the way Penta's attacks go. If they even stumble slightly on attack, then they're definitely not winning this game.
So
they have to have a perfect
you
first
gotta pick
attack.
One. If you could pick one, it's a gamble. This is a bet.
Yeah, I'm going with Asgard.
All right, you're going with Asgard, then I'll counter it with a Penta, and with it we have our little own side mission. Hopefully luck is on one side more than the other. And in the meanwhile, 2 minutes still remaining as we tend to try and put up some side pressure. Asgard, you see them all around this place. They're opening doors, windows, angles, you name it, trying to execute off of this top floor because verticality here is honestly a great virtue to have, and getting it is something that is not easily accessible, especially looking at this lineup. We have the Legion, the Echo, the Melusi, Goyo, all there to stop it. And in the meanwhile, I don't think that Penta here are going to be allowing it to go by so swiftly. Shots coming out, and in the meanwhile, I don't think any bullets are going to be finding heads for the meanwhile.
Yeah, not right now. There is a lot of stalling, some utility going in. Those Flores drones just trying to clear out power positions more than anything else. And, well, they have managed to push back Cade. They know there is going to be this person hanging around on site, but they're not quite trying to deal with them yet. They're still trying to deal with these players upstairs, and Exy is there to find the opener. Now another player underneath, thought he was getting shot from behind the shelf, isn't quite going to be able to find himself as Ash pushes through. Yoshiro manages to find the two. One more inside of the mini office, and he's going to fall himself off, get back to site, ready to wait for this execute.
Absolute chaos. C4 from below, downing out Yoshiro, as now it is picked back up in the 4v3. Leverage established yet back again. We are seeing Penta being a bit more dispersed and spread out, not necessarily focusing on site itself, but nearly for a possible retake. As in the meanwhile, Z-Tag taking it into his own hands. 3v3 now, Deimos capture coming through, but it doesn't matter as the SMG-11 is going to be picking off yet another. That's Yoshiro. Job finished on him. 20 HP won't be lasting him for much longer, as slowly taking us down, going for this verticality. Could be very dangerous for both of these players as they're dropped down to their bottom last 20 HP. Senzo, he finds a second. In the meanwhile, looking out, you gotta watch behind you. Your 6 is right now completely locked down. And there's gonna be one, and also the second, both completely cornering down, but it doesn't matter. Asgard, they predicted, and they shot their bullets, winning the first round.
It was a pretty big gamble ignoring the guy over towards customs there, but worked out in the end. He tried to do a flank through supply and ended up getting himself caught. So I'm pretty impressed with the way Asgard played that, especially considering they lost a few of their picks during the round, and I think that it definitely could have gone pretty terribly for them. But just the pick back up from the two players remaining at the end, the Deimos was a very big deal in that position, being able to isolate a few of these players and really just, you know, be annoying overall. So I think that was a pretty big factor. They're going to go for a retry on the side of Penta. I'm not too sure how much I like this, but if it doesn't work this time, they need to move on and they can't try it again.
Round 3. Again, we're down to this first goal. We said it, second chance. Hopefully it's going to work out. We saw the mistakes, and it was quite down to the wire. A 2v2 really closely brought about. At the same time, if of course the person on the ticket side of things could have pushed up a bit more, a different outcome is every single time possible. Although, we have to focus on the mistakes, adapt off of them, and overcome the situation, and I think that's what Penta is looking for here. They had a very good first start. I mean, XA, he started it off in the second round as well, although taken out shortly right after, and I think they're trying to execute off of these early mistakes and openings that Asgard is revealing to them. Playing off of them is something that, of course, you should keep in tradition in case it's there for you. Now going in, yet again, we need this verticality. It's a similar situation, and I think all these players are going to be going a similar path with just a bit of tweaks and changes when it comes to these frags.
Definitely so. But a big part of this defense, as we saw in the previous round, is always going to be these mute jammers. It's going to be these Goyo canisters. And well, towards the late round, they picked up this Echo again. So considering the Echo didn't really play his drones last time, I think that was probably because his drones were on the right. Maybe they'd been shot or just gone missing too far away. Maybe Legion, speaking, they're too far away, nearly gets himself caught. Manages to find one in the meantime, though, but gets TK'd by the Goyo that's also in Fountain. Goyo then loses his 1v1, and now they've got pretty much good control of this area.
It's all go down. I mean, in a matter of seconds, let's be honest here. Players were completely shut out, and without a doubt, it has all been slowly cut off. Although, in the meanwhile, gonna have to ask, Nauj, are you still with me?
I'm still with you. It's not you that's gone.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, it's the game that's gone. So we'll have to wait for production to clear things out. And in the meanwhile, we're going to talk about this one frame. We're going to talk about what just went down. Now, to sum it up easily, it went from a 5v5 with people rushing in and then getting taken out. Then the person who took him out gets team killed. What happened there? Not much of a clue. And in the meanwhile, as production is solving things out, we'll be returning back to our cameras as shortly as we could. And it seems like we're back to the game. I don't think that's going to be necessary. And we're still left at the same situation we were handed, like nothing even happened when that went down. A 3v2, the Buck's still down. 133 still on the clock, slowly waiting for him to get picked up. And with it, we have Disrupt, we have Becky. Right now, just slowly taking that, or Baki, by mistake. And the attacker's slowly pinching them out, trying to get them in this sandwiches position. Legion Gu goes off, slowly reveals one. But I think this is going to be another occurrence here, Naj.
Yeah, indeed it is. Looking at it so far, obviously there is an advantage for the attacking side. They do have the extra man, even though he is very, very weak. But overall on health, I think doing better is going to be those defenders. But it does look like the attack came out with the win. I just quickly refreshed my my launcher, so I'm going to give you a quick radio cast while we carry on. We've got on the defense right now Warden, Azami again, Jaeger, Legion, and Bandit. On the attack so far, 20 seconds still left in this attacker repick phase, so bear in mind. We have Ash, Flores, Ace, the new recruit of Striker, and also the Ram. So, Ram has just been switched off onto the Blitz. So, as I said, a shield is going to be coming out this time around, and that is going to be something that is quite interesting to see. As I said, these shields are going to be very important, and I think the aggression is going to start coming out of at least the side of Asgard now as well. It's going to be Senzo, the top fragger for the side, to pick it up and have that pistol in hand. Probably going to be going for some sort of rush on towards this upstairs, maybe clear out these aromas, but there is going to be another man once again on that top east. He's ready, waiting. He knows they're going to be coming in for that information, looking at those goo mines, spotting Legion on top of the rafters, and the Jaeger hovering around on the eastern door. They're there for the refrag, they're there for a party, and Blitz is there to be the party pooper. The joy kill waiting at the door, ready.
Yeah, now in the meanwhile, we're still having a bit of issues here. And yeah, while we're running this podcast, just me and you, Nash.
Nope.
You said it, it's all
In
down to the
comes
radio.
Blitz. He is going to be getting himself in, finds one onto the top of these stairs, as Flores is going to be clearing out these Azami Kibas inside of the IT area. Flores wins that 1v1 as Azami runs out. It's a 2 versus 5 now in favor of these attackers. Swing from the Bandit shotgun, finds one. Warden going to be taking some engagements onto another, but isn't quite able to find it. Blitz going to be trying to get some pistol pop and body lock in action as, well, he's alive as of right now. Warden almost gets a good swing on towards this Ace, but instead he's going to be taken down as the Bandit tries to run into the mini office, gets caught out from the 90 corridor doorway going in towards the site, and Ace of Klein is going to be there to find the final kill for the round.
Sadly, still still no feed for us over by this side. Where are you watching this night? I genuinely
I just restarted my my connection.
Oh, okay, that would make sense. All right. Yeah, we'll sort all of this out. We'll throw it back to cams just so it's all back and running. We don't want to necessarily run too many rounds without them being seen on stream. And with it, yeah, I do believe that right now, if I'm correct by production, we should throw it a break. All right, yeah. Just pause for a second. Let's get it all back up and running. And with it, stay tuned because we'll be back with you as soon as we can be, just after a small little break. We've done some sorcery and it's 3-2, but it doesn't matter. Asgard now in a 1-round lead, and with it, well, what do you think happened? What's your best prediction? What's your best shot that went down in these rounds we just didn't see?
Well, unfortunately for the viewers, but fortunately for me, I did get to see the last round.
Oh,
and it really looked like Penta had some fuel for their fire. It was only one guy going down, a 4 versus 1 at the end, and well, it was actually Zitak to find the final 2 kills. So I think Penta, if they're really going to start finding some stability, they have to find it this round, because moving on to their attack, that's when it really becomes life and death, and having that 3-3 split will really favor them in the long run. So I think if they're going to win any round, this is probably going to be the most important one for them. We'll have to wait and see how they do.
Same time, though, we're starting to get slowly to those rounds where it's really closing down to match point. If we get 3-3, all right, that's a great draw. You said it. I think Penta are as well looking, really craving for this third one. Asgard, they get that 4-2 split, 2 rounds away from match points, and that's already huge for Border here, especially when they're going to be going over to the defense, although guns may be worsened, but you play around your side, you're a bit more comfortable. In the meanwhile, swinging out from this breach, open up by ESA on the opposite side, and Trizzy now taken off. So Disrupt, finding a rune, and it's a 4v4. In the meanwhile, as well, XA on that 11 HP should not be too confident going into his next gunfight.
Indeed, a bit of aggression from the East door there, as Sensor manages to find another one, or, well, find one onto Disrupt, but a bit of an over-aggressive Ram here, I think, as she gets in towards the half-wall area, manages to find their kill, but ends up getting picked up by Legion, before Legion is then picked off by the IQ. So, pretty interesting to see them just try and chase those frags, get really aggressive, and not really choose to, you know, play for the plant or push around onto the site control that they already had. But it worked out for them in the end. They managed to find the kills they needed, and they come out of that half with a 4-2 split. Now, the team to watch is Penta. If Penta are able to come out of this round with a win, there is high likelihood they win this game. However, if we see them stumble a little bit, maybe it's a little too close for comfort, whether they win or not, that's when you should really start getting worried for the side of Penta here, because they were already on the back foot to begin with, and then coming into map number 1, the map that I'm pretty sure you picked, and then losing, that can be really disheartening. And it can also be a really big indicator for how this game's going to go.
That's quite an interesting point you brought up there. This is Penta's pick. You are on the point with it. And right now, they don't seem to be the leading factor. Although, some rounds are still by. It's only round 7. We're at the very early stages of the game. The first half is barely finished. And a swap of roles is now by. We get to see Tom on that mirror, which is going to be a great addition to this defensive for Asgard. Although, sadly, no Zami, which is going to be bringing up some questions. Senzo now going for very aggressive plays, gets spotted out by the drone, and just by the skin of his teeth, manages to blow away from those bullets. And in the meanwhile, we also see our Rune setting up for a run out. We see Asgard is quite an aggressive team here, and Disrupt also taking some damage in the meanwhile while trying to prep for sight. Baki going for breaches and office, trying to rotate and take out those rotations. And meanwhile, as Ryoshiro comes out swinging and gets not only Z-Tech, but the main breacher as well. Looks to find a third also. Trizzy will be taking him out in the meanwhile, but that's huge!
There's very close shots through the wall. Almost finding the man inside of IT. Senzo has to take a step back for a second and watch a bit of a longer angle as they are getting themselves prepared to try and take it on again. Now, we see the gridlock at the top of the eastern stairs. A little worried about another player getting too aggressive for comfort on that wall. But now a hole for the Valkyrie to watch through and have a bit more leniency when it comes down to taking these peaks in towards the CC area. This hold is looking very, very good for the side of Asgard. Penta starting to struggle now, starting to sweat a little bit. A minute 20 left on the clock. 4 versus 3. Not good health on your side. How are they gonna combat this?
We're gonna have to see. 4 versus 3, you named it. 4 versus 2 kind of confirmed as Shrizzy now on the floor, slowly starting to bleed out. And Klein not finishing the job on him, but managing to find another as Axie is going to be returning the fire for 2. Now in a 1v2 trying to find more, but in the end, swinging around from Office right onto Fountain is going to be that Vector yet again, claiming the life of another. And the round heading right over to Asgard as they make it 5-2 and get a follow-up lead, which is gonna be absolutely dominant as they're looking for 2 more to finish it in regulation.
Yeah, and a wonderful two-piece from Exy at the end there in order to, you know, at least try and get his team back in the running. It's going to be 5-2 though, as of this moment. Could be a comeback for the side of Penta, considering we did see some hope for them in that previous round, but it's not looking likely.
Not likely at all. What is Penta gonna do to turn the tables and get the Tide working on for themselves? I am gonna have to excuse myself for a second. Can you take over, Naj?
That's okay. Well, you asked a question, I'm going to give you an answer, and well, with the side of Penta sort of really struggling, not really able to find where they need to go, where they need to be, and what they need to do in order to get themselves in a position where they can win these rounds. The main thing you need to do, bring along that IQ. Stop bringing along a book because you're not using him for enough. You run that IQ for the gadgetry that is being used by these defenders. For example, these Val camps. For example, being able to track Warden through the walls when his glasses are on, and, you know, the Ying that you want to bring or the Blitz that you want to bring is, you know, pressuring him. Alongside that, you've got Solace. You know, there's a lot of different operators on this defensive lineup that are heavily affected by that IQ pick. And now it's going to be a 2 versus 5 again. Well, once again, in favor of the defensive side, and this is not good for the side of Penta. This should be very, very simple pickings for them. He tries to go for the repellent, gets himself shafted by the guy who comes in on the run out, and the Blitz is now left to either get an ace or stall. You have to be able to deal with this stall utility in order to be able to deal with a few of these players. And now, the position you're in is dreadful. You have to get yourself out of there. You back up into a C4 that's on a soft wall. You end up dying, and well, that's the round over. All she wrote. We're going to be going into round number 9, the potential final round for this matchup. 6-2 in favor of Asgard. A scoreline that, well, may have been expected, but isn't ideal, especially considering these teams are, at the moment, at the same position in this tournament. Skinergy just slightly off for the defensive side there. You saw all wild skins except for the Frost, so blame Frost if there's a comeback here. And they are going to be going to the bathroom tellers. An interesting side pick. They are going to be reinforcing off the workshop entirely, so excuse me, just yawned. Yeah, they are going to be reinforcing off that entirely. So that means that those 4 walls there that are on the side of workshop are going to be a point of contention, more than likely. At least if they're not a point of contention for these teams, they definitely should be. They're going to be trying to probably make their way in upstairs again, which is, you know, it's relatively standard, but more than likely we'll have 1, maybe 2 players just lurking around inside of that workshop area to, you know, see if they can apply some pressure through a breaching hole, and that's probably what the Hibana will be used for after getting these hatches. Not really much happening right now, as we have got the Wamai pretty aggressive on the top of these eastern stairs, pressuring out towards the eastern balcony, but the Blitz of Disrupt almost gets himself caught as he puts himself in and gets himself stuck in a corner. The flick was almost perfect from Exy, but Yoshiro, is able to find that kill. No shots onto the feet, even though he can see them, as the Blitz is going to be trying to get himself well, postured just a little further up. Isn't quite able to take the peak he wants to because of the Wamai that is going to be watching there for the refrag and stopping him from being able to run up. The IQ was brought, but wasn't put to great use. Hibana now left as the only man standing to help the Blitz, and he's going to be caught between a rock and a hard place as he can't quite back himself up. But he also can't quite pressure out this Azami. Azami gets pressured out eventually, and so does the Wamai as he gets over aggressive. One more player remaining upstairs. Actually, both remaining upstairs, as it's going to be Frost inside of Armory, and then the other player of the castle going to be postured up towards Rafters. There is a castle barricade on that Rafters door, and he is going to be prone there. A quad for Ztac right now. If he's able to find the 5, this could be the turnaround that Penta need. At the moment, though, just stalling, waiting. They know they've got time. They're going to throw out these drones and see if they can locate this final player. More than likely going to be checking through towards this CC side, knowing he's not going to be around on the downstairs for too long. And, well, as he pops himself back up, tries to take the peek over towards the far side. He doesn't quite know where these players are either, but he does see the drone that's hovering around inside the site. In he comes over towards Fountain. He decides he wants to try and test his luck, get a bit aggressive, gets a few bullets thrown in his direction from the Hibana, but does find himself the kill. Now in a 1v1 against this shield, is going to posture himself a bit more aggressively, finds the feet from underneath, and that's going to be the map. Map number 1 goes the way of Asgard. And, well, you couldn't ask for a better finish from them. 7-2, as that is over, done and dusted. Senzo says goodbye, good night, and moves us over to Consulate. But we're going to be having a look at these replays quickly beforehand, and then we're going to be cutting back to our cameras to give us the final send-off before we move to a break to go on to Consulate. What a map from these two teams, to be completely honest, especially that final round.
Yeah.
The final round was absolutely incredible for those teams, and I was genuinely really impressed with the way Penta played it, especially at the very end, especially for Ztac. Ztac is a player that really impressed me during that game, and XE definitely had a phenomenal start. So I'm pretty interested to see if those two players can pick up the pieces for their team and, you know, actually get us, you know, rolling a little bit in the rounds department, see if they can find themselves something on Consulate, but who knows.
Yeah. And without it, yet again, do apologize, Naj, for leaving you in such a tight corner right there. I was getting a call, and I still am. But I'm going to have to, it was 1-0. It's going to start us off, and we still look to 2 follow-ups. In the meanwhile, though, we're going to be taking a small bit of a break, and you should be back with McCready, who's another caster. So thank you so much for having me, and we'll be back with you in just a second.
Thank you for filling in.